Today, we're investigating lighting. Hey, what is up everybody? Ethan here with another video for you, and today we're talking about 5 simple cinematic lighting setups that filmmakers use constantly in movies, television, interviews, whatever it is. If you enjoy these videos that I'm putting out, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, allows other people to be able to see these videos, and I really appreciate it. So let's get right into it. Now, before we get started, I just want to run through the 3-point lighting setup real quick in case you don't know what that is. 3-point lighting setup is what is used to light pretty much anything in movies. It consists of 3 lights. You have the main light, which is called your key light. Your key light is the biggest light, normally the brightest light, that lights most of the actor's face, lights it up, and depending on what angle it is, it gives different feels and emotions, which we'll talk about in a minute. The key light is normally off a few degrees off to one side of the camera, sometimes more or less, and it lights most of the actor's face. Secondly, you have the fill light, which is sometimes used, sometimes not, depending on the feel of the scene. It is a light that goes off to the other side and is much dimmer than the key light, but just fills in the shadows on the face a little bit, makes it look a little less dramatic. Then third, you have the backlight or hair light or rim light or kicker light or whatever you want to call it, because there's so many names for it. It's a light that just goes behind the subject, shines a little bit of light on their head to help separate them from the background, and doesn't make them feel like they're melting into the background. The 3-point lighting setup is not a must. It is not the only setup that you have to always use. You have to always use 3 lights. There have been many scenes in movies where they've only used 2 lights, 1 light, 6 lights. It all just depends on the scene and the feel you're going for. But the 3-point lighting setup is the standard that is used commonly in most any kind of lighting, and it's what you normally want to start with and then build or take away from that depending on the needs of your scene. So our first lighting setup is going to be what I call standard lighting, or many people call Rembrandt lighting. This lighting is used probably 70 to 80% of the time in movies when it comes to lighting a subject. It is so common, we are so used to seeing it in movies, it just automatically looks cinematic when you see it. It's called Rembrandt lighting because of the famous painter. Years ago when he would paint portraits of people, he would paint their faces, and he always had the lighting coming from a certain angle to give it this dramatic feel. You can tell when something is being Rembrandt lit by the little triangle of light you get on one side of somebody's face. To light Rembrandt lighting, you're going to normally take your key light and put it off to one side, roughly 45 degrees off from the camera, sometimes more or less, again, just depending on your scene. But you're going to try to go off so that there's some shadow on one side of the face and some light on one side of the face. You want the shadow from the nose to cast underneath the eye to give a triangle of light right underneath the eye. This is what gives that dramatic feel that you see so much in movies, and I'm sure now that I've pointed it out to you, you're going to be noticing it constantly because it is used everywhere. So when you're using Rembrandt lighting, many times you're going to also be using what is called short side lighting. If you are using short side lighting, it's going to make your scene feel even more dramatic, more filmic, if you will. When you are setting up your camera, it is very common to want to take the camera and point it, at your subject, and have your subject sitting off to one side, talking to the other person if it's a dialogue scene, whatever it is. Then to place your key light right beside the camera, because then it's not going to be in the frame, right? It just makes sense. Put your key light right beside the camera so it points at the subject, no light in the video, and it looks good, right? Well, unfortunately, this can many times make your video feel very bland, and if your subject is off to the side, you're not going to see the Rembrandt lighting because we're only seeing one side of the subject's face. So many times what you want to try to do is use what's called short side lighting, which means you light the short side of the actor's face. So if I'm pointed this way towards this side of the frame, and you want to light this side of my face, which is the short side, and it'll give it a very much more dramatic feel. Cinematic lighting is always going to consist of lots of shadows. Shadows coexist with cinematic lighting. In movies, If it's flat and there are no shadows, it doesn't feel natural, and it feels very much like a soap opera from TV.
And we're gonna have to work at this every day, but I want to do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever, you and me, every day.
So if you want to go a little more in depth with short side lighting, I recommend you check out this video by The Film Look. They're another great channel here on YouTube. They did a video on it not too long ago about this subject and goes a little more in depth. If you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend you check it out. All right, our second form of lighting is going to be what is known as beauty lighting. This lighting is again used very common in movies if you are trying to make something look beautiful, bring out the best characteristics of someone's face, make it look very natural. This light is where you're going to take your key light and move it almost directly in front of your subject. Normally maybe a little bit off to one side so it doesn't feel too flat. And you're going to raise it up, point it down at the subject so you get a very soft shadow underneath the chin and a little bit of shadow under the eyes and under the nose. This is known as beauty lighting because it's very soft. It brings out the best facial characteristics of your subject, helps keep anything looking harsh, and looks very natural to the eye because we're very used to seeing light sources coming from above us, whether it's in a room with lights on the ceiling or an office, whatever it is. I'm using a form of this right now. I've got my key light up a little bit, pointed down at me so you can see the shadows under the chin, under the nose, and whatever else it is. Normally though, you're probably gonna want it a little more closer to the front so it just has a little more of that same beauty light. But again, this can be moved around and changed in all different ways. This is just one example of using it right here. So anytime you want the subject to feel very safe and secure, then you can use beauty lighting because it will give that feel of just soft and natural. Our third lighting setup is going to be silhouette lighting. Silhouette lighting is pretty much what it sounds like. You're going to make a silhouette out of your subject, whether they're in a dark alley somewhere or in a room. Basically, this is pretty much going to consist of one light. You're just going to take your key light and move it behind the subject somewhere out of frame, sometimes in frame depending on what you're wanting to do, and shine the light on the subject as if it were a rim light or a hair light, but instead you're making it much brighter, basically making a silhouette of our subject in the image. This can be a really great way to add much drama to your film, add mystery because you can't see any of the subject's face. You feel very dramatic, you're not sure what you feel about this person. If you want, you can take a fill light and add just a little bit of fill on one side, just so it's a little more three-dimensional, and you can see a little bit of face, which can even add more drama if you can just see the side a little bit, but you can't see any eyes or mouth. Whatever you want to do with this, again, it's just suggestions and ways that it can be used.
Oh, it's you again. I was just reading in the paper about an online course called Tomorrow's Filmmakers. It's an online film course designed for filmmakers like you and me who don't necessarily want to have to go to film school. With over 50 hours of video content plus individual cinema courses taught by professionals in their craft, it's an amazing family-friendly course to learn all you need to know about filmmaking. And the amazing part is, it's only $700 to sign up for a lifetime access to this course. Plus the fact, if you use the coupon code affiliate20 in your purchase, you get an extra 15% off. Now if that's not a good deal, I don't know what is. And I would know, because I'm a detective, and we know these things.
Can we cut? Cut. Our fourth type of lighting is what I like to call Godfather lighting. If you've ever seen Godfather, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this setup basically works the same way as beauty lighting does, but instead we're going to move our key light even further up into the air so that we get very harsh shadows underneath the eyes, and you can't see any of the eyes anymore, or even under the chin or the mouth sometimes. As an audience, when we are looking at other humans on the screen, we connect with them through their eyes. That is how we connect with people, by their eyes. When we look at someone, we normally look at their eyes. That is how we feel emotions people are feeling. That's how we see, basically, as the quote says, the eyes are the windows into the soul. It lets us see into people's minds, and so we use the eyes to connect with other humans on the screen. If you take that ability away from the audience by placing their eyes in deep shadow, it makes it feel very, very mysterious, feel very much like you don't know what you feel about this, you don't know if you trust them because you can't see their eyes, and it gives that feeling of mystery. Alright, our fifth and final setup is going to be what is known as underlighting. Underlighting is basically taking the Godfather lighting we just saw, but flipping it around and putting the light all the way down underneath someone's face, shining it up. This is a very, very odd feel, and you don't see it a whole lot because it is so odd, but it does give a very specific feel to your subject. This basically casts shadows on the upper part of the eye, above the nose, and all the weird places you don't normally see them. That's why this feels so odd, is because you hardly ever see a light coming from below someone. It almost feels like that you're looking into a campfire because the light's coming up underneath you and giving that weird ghostly feel. This light is used very often in movies when it's a villain and you're trying to accentuate their evil characteristics because it makes you feel evil. You can also make it feel very off balance if something is wrong and you want to give that feeling. You can use it as underlighting on your subject. Now obviously it doesn't always have to be this crazy. You can just do it very lightly to give a very light touch of the underlighting on their face so that you get that little bit of feeling of mystery and villainous, whatever it is, without going overboard with it. Now again, all of these lighting setups can be changed, used in different ways to get any sort of feel you want. And really when it comes to movie lighting, that is what it comes down to. There is no hard and fast rules. You just use what you think looks best, what you think serves your story the best, and you will end up with great cinematic images in no time. So use these tips, use these. The main ones I would recommend trying out are your Rembrandt lighting, your beauty lighting. Those are the two that are used the most common in film. Sometimes they mix these up just because that's what we're most used to seeing in real life. If you want to go a little crazy, you can try some underlighting or Godfather lighting, silhouette lighting to give mystery and very cinematic because there's so many shadows. And that is how you get cinematic lighting setups very quickly. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a like, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos coming out in the future, and I will see you all next week. Boo! That was weird.
I was just reading in the paper about this brand new course that's come out called... No, it's not brand new. Try that again. Now, if that's not a good deal, I don't know what is. That didn't work very well. Let's try that again. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, here we go.